what I'm going to be making today is this horizontal clamp. You put it in a dog hole on your bench. Clamps up lovely and tight. To make the actual the clamp part of the clamp, we're going to use just a sealant gun. You need one with like just the flat part there. Some of them have like a round, a round thing there for the end of the to catch the end of the sort of the silicone tube. You don't want those ones because they don't work. I've already tried that in a prototype and it didn't work. So you just want the basic, the basic one that's a complete gun that's completely flat. And then you want to cut the ends of it off here. Put my glasses on. So cut the end off there. So you could probably have to cut a bit more for in a minute, but we'll just cut that much off to start with. It's probably worth buying like paid about £5 for this one. Don't buy the really cheap ones because I don't think they'll be strong enough. They won't last that long, and you can't really take it back on the guarantee once you've cut the thing in half, can you? I'm also going to cut off the end that pushes the silicone thing through there. Now just give everything like a clean up to get rid of all the burrs. Okay, the plan is, so this thing here is just a metal conduit box that I bought in Tool Station. I think it's just join metal conduit together. So that is going to slide in now. I've drilled a hole in the bottom of it. You can see the hole there. So that's going to be then mounted to a bench dog, then pops down bench dog holes. So I'm going to bolt that onto there. Then we can cut the ends of these off and mount a clamping point, like a push part to the end of the end of there for the clamp. So, well, we have to stop. So we need to put some washers or something inside here, so that as this slides through the middle of here, it stays all square and plumb. So that's the first thing really, because once you've slid that on, you can then bolt it up because you can't take it off to put the bolts on. That makes sort of sense. Sort of confusing myself now. Okay, so I've bolted that on there. You can see on the sides. Drilled a couple more holes. So I can now bend that round and bolt it on again. Okay, so I've cut that off now. So you just need to get that sort of parallel. Point to it. So you need to get that, put that parallel through there. Obviously it's not quite a moment. Twist it parallel. Bend that one round, and then bolt that other one on once you've bent it round. You just tap round. First you push it round, a little tap with the hammer, and that'll go round. Okay, so you can sort of see it coming together now. I'll drop it. So I bolted that around the sides there. You can sort of see it now moves. So the next thing is this, like this, the pin, just to keep it sort of central. So it's sitting on that bit of ply below. So I'm going to put a couple of ply spacers each side, just so that it runs through square. Otherwise it might start, just so it can't move off centre. So I've got some sort of halves there. I'll just cut those down, get them in, so it thing, and then put one on top, just so it all runs through nice and square. So I've cut two down, put them in there, so they now sit tight each side. I'll cut two more one more down to sit above, just to stop it popping up, which should be there. Okay, so I've drilled a hole out through one of these bench stocks. I'd made a video last week about how I made these bench stocks and all about them. So I'll put a link in the description. It's only a really short video, so that'll explain that. If you've got different size holes in your bench, or these are 20mm holes on the MFT table, but if you've got a different size hole, you can just change this part to whatever size hole you want, really. So I'm just going to bolt that onto there now. So I've got it bolted up on there now. So you can now push it down through a hole. I've got a horizontal clamp. So all that's left is to put an end on there, because obviously you don't want to be clamping with that, and a block under this end, just to keep it level, because otherwise it's sort of poking up in the air slightly. You just need something like a block under here so that it sits level on the bench. I finished making this video a couple of days ago, but I wasn't that happy with the amount of pressure it would exert and hold. But by having another look at it, it was this black rubber sort of thing here. It was obviously like acting like it was a bit of a damper, so you couldn't get huge pressure on the sealing tube. So what I've done is added a spring into it, just off an old gun, which has made it work really powerfully now. So what you really need is the same as these old-fashioned clamps with a spring each side. But a lot of the Sealant guns do have a spring each side. But I hadn't realised. So that's what you need, is to pick a gun to use with a spring each side, or add a spring or some washers in there to dampen that rubber down, so that it will hold really tight force. I've added some rubber to the end of just put an oak block on there, added some rubber to the end of it, put that block on there to try and stop it lifting. It does. It will exert a fair bit of force. Easy. That's clamped. Whole bench moves now. It won't. You can't move it, and it still stay flat. But if you had two, if you made two, I think that would work. I'll give you a lot more force. I think the Festool ones and some of the others have a wing nut underneath, which you then use to lock down onto the bench. But I wanted to try and avoid that, because I mean, it's easy to do because you've got the nut there. You can just put a wing nut on there. But you've got to keep your hand under the bench every time you move it, which just seemed to be a bit of a pain. So that piece of wood behind gives it a more of a flatter surface. But it's still, if you go really, really tight, it still lifts. But I think you can get enough tension on it without having to go stupid. I hope you've enjoyed it, found it helpful. I mean, it's quite reasonable to make. I mean, you can get one of the Sealant gun for about £3 or £4. That metal junction, whatever that metal electrical box thing, is £1, just over £1, about £1.20. So for sort of £6-7, a few nuts and bolts, you've got, you know, a pretty useful clamp. So if you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. Always enjoy reading them. But please subscribe. That would be brilliant if you could subscribe. Thanks a lot.